Okay, so I've got the engine turned off now. We're ready to move on. The first thing we need to do is, well, since we've already got this hose removed, we're just going to set that off to the side and leave it disconnected. We need to remove the air filter, the intake air hose. And this is the stock hose. I just wrapped it with some duct insulation to try to keep, the heat from the engine compartment from heating up any air that's coming in. I don't know that it really does anything, to be honest with you, but anyway, to remove this, you basically just need to pull back like that. If you want to unsnap it from the fender wall, you can. I'm just going to kind of tuck it down a little bit. We just need it out of the way so that we can remove the air filter housing itself. The next thing we need to do is disconnect the throttle position sensor, which is right here. We just need to disconnect the wiring. So I believe you just squeeze on the sides. I'm sorry, squeeze top and bottom, I believe. This is slippery. I'm gonna need two hands to do this, I think. I feel like I got it started. There we go. So you squeeze top and bottom and it'll slide off. And just tuck that out of the way where you can find it when we're done. Alright, now we need to remove the sort of a hose clamp right here. We just need to loosen that. If our memory serves correct, I think that's a 5/16 nut, but I'll confirm that here in a second and we'll remove that. We just need to loosen it and then we can remove the air filter housing from the top of the intake manifold. Sit tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so I did confirm that that is a 5/16 nut on there, so we just need to loosen it. You don't have to take it, run it all the way out, but that should loosen up enough to, there we go. You just kind of want to twist gently and lift up. And that will allow us to completely remove the air filter housing to expose the throttle body. So now we need to open the throttle plates, which we can do using the gas pedal inside the truck if you have a buddy to press on that while you're up here looking down in there. And then that will allow us to peer down inside the intake manifold to see what we see in there. So let me kind of get that set up and reposition myself so I can get a good shot, and we'll check inside. Be right back. Okay, I am now perched on top of the radiator support across the front of the vehicle. I've just got a blanket there to cushion my knees, and I've also got the throttle open. I've got something wedged against the gas pedal inside, but if you've got a friend to help you, all they got to do is just push it all the way down to the floor, and that'll open these throttle plates. You can also manipulate it with your hand right here. That's connected to the throttle cable right there. This moves back and forth and opens the throttle plates. However you want to do it is fine, but once we've got the butterflies open, we can look down inside, and that shiny thing on the bottom is the plenum plate. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus. You can see a little bit of oily residue down there. Some oil is normal because you've got the hose coming from the valve covers on each side that is going to allow some oily residue to make it in there. If you have a lot of oil, like if you see oil pooling in there, that's indicative of the plenum gasket having failed. And you can actually see on the edge of that shiny surface down there, that dark line, that is the plenum gasket itself. When I did this repair before, that gasket was disintegrated, and I could actually see in a few spots from here where it was failed and like sucked inside the intake manifold. So if you open this up and you see that, if you see that pieces of that gasket, or if you see tons of oil, you know for sure that you've got a leak in your plenum gasket. Now there's another test you can do while you're up here. If you have a long skinny magnet, you can drop that down inside through here. Just be very careful, and you can actually see if it sticks to the plenum plate. And that's something that you would try if you're unsure of the service history of your truck, if you're not sure if this repair has ever been made and you want to just see if you still have the stock plenum plate down there. The stock plate was steel, so if you drop a magnet down there and you feel the magnet adhere or stick to that plate down there at the bottom, then you know you still have the stock plate. It doesn't guarantee that you have a leak, but the common knowledge is that if you have the stock plate at this point, the youngest second gen Ram is what, 17 years old now, so more than likely you've got a failure if you have the stock plate. If your magnet does not stick, that would indicate that you have an aluminum plate, and that the repair has been made at some point in the past. That doesn't mean that it hasn't failed again, but if you have an aluminum plate, at least you know that this repair was made. Hopefully you don't have the issue again. Again, I purchased an aluminum plate repair kit from Hughes Engines. I'll try to link that to this video. It's also, I believe, linked in my series on making the repair. But I've done it. I actually had to do it twice. The first time I did it, I didn't put thread locker on the plenum bolts, and they failed after about a year, so I had to do it all over again. Fingers crossed, it's still holding. Hopefully we won't have to do it again anytime soon. Anyhow, I hope that this has been helpful. Again, this is one of the most common issues with these engines, so if you've never checked this before, it wouldn't be a bad idea to use one or both of these methods to inspect and see if you have a leak in your plenum gasket. More than likely, if it's the original, you probably do, but it's not impossible to repair it yourself. Again, I've got a series on that I'll link, and it's tedious and time consuming, but anybody can do it. So anyhow, again, I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for watching. Okay, I almost forgot to show how everything gets reassembled, so let's work on that next. And I wanted to mention that if you've gone this far, now is a perfect opportunity to change your air filter if you need to. Obviously, these 3 clips hold the air filter in place. You just snap them back one at a time. This will lift back to expose the air filter in there. So, and the other thing is, if you take the air filter housing off and your throttle plates look really nasty, now's a really good time to clean them up with some throttle body cleaner and a rag. You can just get down in there and wipe everything off really good. Just be sure not to drop bits of the rag or anything like that down inside the intake manifold. Obviously, if you determine that you have a plenum leak and you are planning to repair it yourself, then you'll have plenty of opportunity to scrub the throttle body really well then, because you're actually going to have to take it completely out of the vehicle. So anyway, let's move on to putting the air filter housing back in. So we need to line up 2 different things here. Obviously, we need to make sure that this portion aligns perfectly with the throttle body back here, but there's also like a rubber grommet here with a hole in the bottom that needs to align with this mounting stud right there. You also want to make sure that your gasket right here is in place. If that came off when you took the air filter housing off, if it maybe stuck to the bottom of the air filter housing, you want to make sure that you drop it back onto the throttle body first. Just make sure it's sitting there so that you can be sure it's in place. Now we just need to flip this over. You can see that stud right there drops down And then we just need to make sure that back here, the housing and the top of the throttle body align. And then the hose clamp is going to need to grab the bottom of this lip on the throttle body so that it can clamp them together when you tighten this down. So I'm going to need two hands to align that and make sure it's where it needs to be before I tighten the hose clamp down, but that's the idea. So let me tighten this up and then we'll move on to reinstalling the electrical connector and the hoses. I'll be right back. Alright, so I've got the clamp tightened back down, good and tight, nothing's moving. Now we just need to reinstall the connector to the throttle position sensor, which should just push on and click like that. I felt it click, so that's on there tight. And then we need to reinstall the hose to the PCV valve, so we remove our tape first and then gently slide that onto the PCV. It's got a nipple there, and you can kind of manipulate this, it should rotate, but you just want to carefully put that back together. Don't snap the nipple off the PCV. There we go. Make sure it's still tight on this end, and then we just need to go around to the other side and pull back the hose, air intake hose, and it just fits around here. There we go. And then reattach this hose. Just push it on gently, and we're all buttoned back up. It's as simple as that. So again, this is a simple test that you can do to determine if you've got a leak with your plenum gasket, which is such a common problem with these engines. You know, this probably takes 15 minutes or so. You can do it right there in your driveway. You don't need any special tools, and it will either help you determine if you've got a leak or give you peace of mind that you don't. So again, I will link my other video to the repair, and you can check that out if you're looking to do the repair on your own. But again, I hope this has been helpful and informative, and I thank you for watching.